The arrival. The beacon had been silent for 10 million years, drifting in the cold space between Proxima Centauri and its distant companion star. Then, on a Tuesday that would reshape galactic history, it awakened with a pulse of energy that lit up sensors across 3 sectors of the galaxy. Dr. Marcus Rivera was finishing his morning coffee at the Arecibo Deep Space Array when the first signals arrived. The xenolinguist had spent 15 years searching for patterns in cosmic background radiation, hoping to find evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth. What he found instead was a message so clear and terrifying that his hands shook as he decoded it. The transmission repeated in 17 different languages, each representing a major galactic civilization. The message was simple and absolute. Children of the stars, the time of judgment has arrived. The worthiest among you shall inherit the power to shape worlds and command the void between them. Send your champions to the beacon at coordinates 4.24 light-years from Sol. Prove your species deserves to survive or face the consequences of weakness. Within hours, the message had reached every government on Earth and every monitoring station across human space. Emergency sessions convened in Geneva, Washington, Beijing, and Moscow simultaneously. The Global Defense Council, formed only 3 years earlier after humanity's first contact with the peaceful Andorian traders, found itself facing an ultimatum from forces they couldn't comprehend. General Patricia Hayes, commander of Earth's unified space forces, studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. Long-range telescopes had detected massive energy signatures moving toward the Proxima Centauri system. Ships, hundreds of them. Some were the size of cities, bristling with weapons that could glass entire continents. The Catherian Empire had responded first, Cetus, ending a battle fleet of 300 vessels led by their most decorated commander, Fleet Admiral Zephyros. The Catherians were a warrior race from the Vega system, standing 8 feet tall with chitinous armor that grew naturally from their bodies. They had conquered 12 star systems in the past century, each victory adding to their reputation for ruthless efficiency. Following them came the Nexari Confederacy, a union of crystalline beings whose ships could phase through normal matter. Their vessels looked like floating cathedrals of living crystal, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. The Nexari had never lost a war in their 3,000-year history, and they weren't planning to start now. The void-touched arrived in ships that seemed to bend space around them, their dark hulls absorbing light itself. Nobody knew what they looked like beneath their environmental suits, but their technology was rumored to harness the power of black holes. Entire civilizations had simply vanished after encountering them. Dr. Rivera worked around the clock to decode additional transmissions between the gathering fleets. What he learned chilled him to the bone. This wasn't just about claiming some ancient prize. The civilizations responding to the beacon viewed it as a culling event. Winner takes all, losers face extinction. The galaxy would belong to whoever proved themselves worthy. Captain Rebecca Santos received her orders at 0600 hours on a gray morning that felt like the end of the world. She stood in the briefing room of the Earth Defense Command, looking at faces she had known for years, friends who might be saying goodbye forever. Rebecca had earned her nickname, Reaper, during the Outer Colony Wars, not for killing, but for bringing home crews that everyone else had written off as dead. She had a reputation for impossible rescues and last-minute victories that defy all logic. If anyone could represent humanity in this cosmic arena, it was her. The crew of the Prometheus was small by necessity. 57 men and women, each one a specialist in fields ranging from xenobiology to quantum mechanics. Chief Engineer Tommy Chen had redesigned the ship's power systems 3 times in the past week, pushing every component to its theoretical limits. Dr. Rivera had joined the mission as their xenolinguist and cultural advisor, his steady presence helping to calm nerves throughout the ship. As news of Earth's response spread through the galaxy, the reactions were immediate and unanimous. The proud Kytherians laughed at what they saw as human arrogance. Fleet Admiral Zephyros transmitted a message that was intercepted by intelligence services across known space. The mammals from Sol send a single ship. His translated words dripped with contempt. Perhaps they intend to surrender before the real fighting begins. It will save us ammunition. The Nexari response was more philosophical but equally dismissive. Their crystal song messages spoke of humanity's touching naivety and expressed mild regret that such a young species would be eliminated so quickly. Even the peaceful civilizations that had remained neutral couldn't understand Earth's strategy. The Andorians, who had been humanity's first alien friends, sent worried diplomatic messages asking if there had been some mistake in the transmission. The journey to Proxima Centauri took the Prometheus 18 days, pushing their quantum drives to the limit. During the voyage, Rebecca spent hours in the observation deck, watching the stars wheel by and thinking about the odds they faced. Earth's entire population was counting on them, but she had no illusions about their chances in a straight fight. Chief Chen found her there on the final night before their arrival, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. "Second thoughts, Captain?" he asked, settling into the chair beside her. "Every captain has second thoughts, Tommy. It's the ones who don't that you need to worry about." She gestured toward the star growing brighter ahead of them. "Question is, what are we really flying into out there?" "Dr. Rivera thinks it's some kind of test," Chen replied. "The beacon's technology is older than any civilization we've encountered. Maybe whoever built it wasn't looking for the strongest species, but the wisest." Rebecca smiled grimly. "Let's hope wisdom counts for more than firepower, because we're about to be outgunned by everyone." The Prometheus dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, and the crew's worst fears were immediately confirmed. The sensor displays lit up like a Christmas tree, showing contact after contact spread across local space. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, each fleet positioning itself strategically around the ancient beacon. The beacon itself was a thing of impossible beauty. It hung in space like a crystalline flower, its petals of exotic matter catching and reflecting the light of Proxima Centauri in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Energy readings showed power levels that dwarfed entire star systems, contained within a structure no larger than Manhattan. Fleet Admiral Zephyros was the first to respond to their arrival. His face appeared on the main screen, compound eyes glittering with amusement. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed weapon systems charging and crew members preparing for combat. "So the mammals actually came," he said, his translator converting his clicking mandibles into heavily accented English. "I am almost disappointed. I was hoping for more of a challenge from the species that defeated the outer colony rebels." Rebecca stood slowly, making sure her uniform was perfectly straight. When she spoke, her voice carried the calm confidence that had seen her through a dozen impossible situations. "Admiral Zephyros, I am Captain Rebecca Santos of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We're here to participate in whatever trial the beacon has prepared for us." The alien admiral's laughter sounded like breaking glass. "Trial? Child, this is a culling. Only one species will leave this system alive. The rest will serve as examples to any others who think they can challenge the natural order." Before Rebecca could respond, new contacts appeared on their sensors. The void-touched fleet had arrived, their black ships seeming to tear holes in space itself as they emerged from whatever dimension they used for travel. Simultaneously, the Nexari began their crystal songs, harmonies that resonated through hyperspace and made reality shimmer around their cathedral ships. Dr. Rivera was monitoring communications between the fleets, his face growing more troubled with each translation. "Captain, I'm picking up coordination signals between multiple species. It looks like some of them are forming temporary alliances." Rebecca studied the tactical display, watching as battle lines formed around the beacon. Humanity had walked into a trap, but maybe that wasn't entirely bad news. If their enemies were focused on each other, it might give the Prometheus the opening it needed to approach the beacon and discover what was really happening here. "All stations, red alert," she announced. "We're about to find out what we're really made of." The beacon pulsed once, a wave of energy that washed over every ship in the system. Then, impossibly, it began to speak. The revelation. The voice that emerged from the beacon was older than mountains, deeper than oceans, and carried the weight of eons in every syllable. When it spoke, reality itself seemed to pause and listen. The words appeared in the minds of every sentient being within 10 light-years, bypassing translation entirely and speaking direct to consciousness itself. I am the guardian, last servant of the architects who shaped the early galaxy. For 10 million years I have waited for species to mature enough to face the final trial. You who have answered the call represent the peak of your civilizations. But only one truth will allow you to claim the inheritance waiting here. Fleet Admiral Zephyros was the first to respond, his weapon systems already charging. Guardian or ancient machine, it makes no difference. The Kytherian Empire claims this beacon by right of superior force. Stand aside or be destroyed. The response was swift and devastating. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the beacon, striking the Admiral's flagship. But instead of destroying it, the beam seemed to analyze the ship and its crew, scanning through every deck and examining every weapon system. When it finished, the Guardian's voice carried a note of profound disappointment. The children of war think only of conquest. They fail the first test. Zephyros found his ship locked in place by forces he couldn't understand, his weapons offline, his crew unable to do anything but watch as other species made their attempts. The Kytherian fleet, feared across 3 sectors, had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. The Nexari tried next, their crystal ships singing in harmonies that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Their approach was more subtle, attempting to communicate with the beacon through mathematical concepts and scientific principles. For a moment, it seemed like they might succeed. The beacon's crystalline structure began to resonate with their songs, patterns of light dancing between the 2 crystal entities. But then the Guardian spoke again. The children of pure logic seek to understand everything but comprehend nothing. They fail the second test. The Nexari ships found themselves frozen in space, their crystal songs silenced as effectively as the Kytherian weapons had been disabled. One by one, the gathered civilizations attempted to claim the beacon's prize. The void touched, tried to phase their ships directly into the beacon's structure, only to discover that it existed in dimensions they couldn't access. The Helian collective attempted to overwhelm it with the combined psychic might of their hive mind, but found their thoughts turned back on themselves. The stellar engineers tried to hack its systems using quantum computers that could simulate entire universes, but their most sophisticated programs simply vanished into the beacon's incomprehensible depths. Each failure was met with the same judgment. They failed the test. Captain Rebecca Santos watched from the bridge of the Prometheus as the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy were reduced to helpless observers. Whatever the beacon was looking for, raw power wasn't it. Neither was advanced technology, superior numbers, or even intelligence in the traditional sense. Dr. Rivera, she said quietly, what exactly are we looking at here? The xenolinguist had been analyzing the Guardian's responses, looking for patterns in its judgments. His findings were troubling. Captain, I don't think this is about claiming some ancient weapon or technology. Every species that's failed has approached this as a competition to be won. But what if it's not a competition at all? Before Rebecca could respond, the beacon pulsed again, and the Guardian's attention turned to humanity's lone ship. The youngest children have remained silent while their elders displayed their limitations. What wisdom do you bring, children of Earth? Rebecca felt the weight of her species' future pressing down on her shoulders. Every other civilization had led with their greatest strengths, their most impressive achievements. The Kytherians had shown their military might, the Nexari their scientific advancement, the Void Touche their technological superiority. What did humanity have that could possibly compare? Then she remembered something from her childhood, a lesson her grandfather had taught her during long summer evenings on his farm in Montana. Sometimes, Becky, he had said, the most important question isn't what you can take, but what you're willing to give. She opened a channel to the beacon, knowing that her words would be heard by every civilization in the system. Guardian, my name is Rebecca Santos, speaking for humanity and the United Earth ship Prometheus. We didn't come here to claim anything. We came because we heard a call for help. The silence that followed her words was deafening. Across the system, alien commanders stared at their displays in confusion. Help? What was this primitive species talking about? But the Guardian's response was different this time. There was something new in its ancient voice, something that might have been hope. Explain your reasoning, child of Earth. Rebecca took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would either save her species or doom them. Your message spoke of judgment and worthiness, but also of consequences for weakness. That sounds like a warning, not a challenge. You've been alone out here for 10 million years, waiting for someone to understand that this isn't about proving who's strongest. It's about finding someone willing to shoulder a burden. Chief Engineer Chen stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. We've analyzed your beacon's power signatures, Guardian. You're not just a test administrator. You're a weapon, aren't you? Something built to protect the galaxy from a threat we can't even imagine. Dr. Rivera added his own analysis. The architects who built you must have foreseen something catastrophic enough to justify creating a Guardian system. You've been waiting for a species mature enough to help you and watch. The beacon pulsed with increasing intensity, its crystalline structure beginning to unfold like a flower blooming in fast forward. As it opened, it revealed technology that made every ship in the system look like Stone Age tools. But more than that, it revealed something else. Massive scars in space-time itself. Wounds in reality that spoke of battles fought against enemies from outside normal existence. The children of Earth see clearly, the Guardian said, and for the first time in 10 million years, its voice carried something other than judgment. It carried relief. Beyond the edge of this galaxy, entities exist that consume reality itself, unmaking stars and planets, and leaving only void in their wake. The architects built me as the final line of defense, but one Guardian cannot stand forever against the dark. Rebecca felt tears running down her cheeks as the full scope of the situation became clear. This wasn't about inheritance or conquest. It was about responsibility on a cosmic scale. You need someone to help you guard the borders of reality itself. I need someone to replace me, the Guardian corrected gently. My power grows weak after eons of vigilance. Soon the barriers will fail, and the dark will return. I have waited for a species wise enough to understand that some prizes come with prices that define the very meaning of sacrifice. Around the system, the other civilizations began to understand what they were witnessing. This wasn't a competition they had lost. This was a burden they had been fortunate to avoid. The Catharians, bred for war, recoiled at the thought of an eternal battle against enemies they couldn't defeat. The Nexari, logical to their core, calculated the impossibility of maintaining such a vigil. The Void Touched, who had always taken what they wanted, found themselves faced with a responsibility that offered no reward except the continued existence of everything they had ever known. But Captain Rebecca Santos looked around at her crew and saw something different in their eyes. She saw Chief Engineer Chen running calculations on how to integrate their ship's systems with technology beyond imagination. She saw Dr. Rivera studying the linguistic patterns of entities that existed outside normal space-time. She saw 57 men and women who understood that sometimes the greatest victories were the ones nobody would ever celebrate. Guardian, she said slowly, if we accept this responsibility, what happens to Earth? To humanity? Your ship will be transformed, merged with my systems, to create something greater than either could be alone. Your crew will become the new Guardians, watching over barriers between dimensions that most species cannot even perceive. Your sacrifice will save not just your world, but every world that will ever be. Rebecca closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of blue skies and green fields, of children playing in parks, and lovers walking hand in hand down city streets. She thought of all the tomorrows that would never come if she made the wrong choice now. When she opened her eyes, her decision was clear. We accept. The transformation began immediately. The Prometheus was drawn into the beacon's crystalline embrace, its hull reconfigured with materials that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. The crew felt themselves changing too, their consciousness expanding to perceive threats that lurked in spaces between spaces, their lifespans extended to match the cosmic vigil they had volunteered to maintain. But even as they changed, they remained human at their core. Rebecca Santos became the new guardian, but she never forgot the farm in Montana where she learned that the most important question wasn't what you could take, but what you were willing to give. The other civilizations departed the system in silence, each carrying the news of what they had witnessed back to their home worlds. Some spoke of humanity's foolishness in accepting such a burden. Others whispered of their courage in facing responsibilities that older, wiser species had been too afraid to accept. But across the galaxy, the story spread. The day that Earth's youngest species taught the cosmos what it really meant to be worthy. Not through conquest or superior technology, but through the simple human understanding that some things are more important than self-preservation. In the dark spaces beyond reality's edge, ancient enemies probed the barriers and found them stronger than ever before. The new Guardian and her crew stood watch, human ingenuity and determination, the galaxy's final shield against the hungry void. And in the star systems they protected, children played safely under alien suns, never knowing that their tomorrow had been purchased with the sacrifice of 57 humans who looked into the abyss and chose to stand guard forever. The galaxy had wondered why humanity sent only one ship. Now they understood. Sometimes one ship, crewed by the right people, is enough to save everything that matters.